remember we had our juice in the sorrel and passion fruit blend. Now we have the flesh of the pomme sauté that I pureed and to a very fine consistency. And I have my dough here that I prepared ahead of time. Basically for the dough I used 4 cups of flour, a 1/4 cup of canola oil, and 3/4 cups of low-fat milk. Low-fat milk. Mix that in to a nice soft ball. I have remaining of the dough here that I freezed overnight just to make it easier to work with in the morning. I have my 9-inch pie plate that I used half of the dough, spread it on the pie plate, and just trimmed the edges a bit to get it nice and neat into my pie plate. Right. So the other half of the dough, I'm just going to use to make a nice lattice or diagonal decoration on top of the pie.
Okay. Can't wait to see what that looks like.
But before we do that, I'm just going to leave this here just to thaw out a bit. I'm just going to do my pomme sauté filling. So as I mentioned before, I have my minced pomme sauté flesh, all nice and chopped. If you want a bigger consistency in terms of the texture, it's just a matter of decreasing the processing time of the food processor. And people, I must admit, I enjoy the technology. I use my food processors, I use my dough mixers just to make my cooking experience in the kitchen a whole lot more enjoyable. That's why they were created. Use them. Okay? Technology. Right, so in here we're going to add our honey. Where is my measuring cup?
Honey again.
Honey again. Right. So we're just going to add about a half cup of honey. Good. Right, just pour that into our pomme sauté. Now, honey is the healthy alternative to sugar.
I realize that.
As I'm sure you already know.
I realize
so
that.
So use it because it's healthy. Okay? And that will give our pomme sauté a nice, nutty texture. And you don't have to worry about the sugar granules. So to the pomme sauté and the honey, you will now add just a bit of water. About a 1/4 cup should be okay. We don't want to add too much liquid that would lengthen the cooking time of the pomme sauté. I'm just going to grab a bowl here just to collect some water. Right, that should be enough. Alright, so we have our honey, we have our pomme sauté, we have our water. Just going to add about 2 tablespoons of flour, a half tablespoon of cinnamon. So we have our ground nutmeg. We have some cinnamon here. Where is my I poured it out earlier. We have our nutmeg, cinnamon. Just about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Alright, and so you have a nutmeg, you have our cinnamon. We're just going to add a pinch of salt again. You don't need too much, and that will just balance off the flavor, the sweet flavor of the honey. Right, just going to turn this on here and hot. Okay. So Eloise, what do you want to help me with?
Eating. As soon as it's finished, I'm ready.
How many times have I asked you since the beginning of the show? Hint, hint.
And I'm going to pass all the stuff you need. I'm going to pass it right along. Yeah?
She's so helpful. Right.
You know when to let the professionals do their thing. Yeah?
I don't know about professional. I love to cook. I love to eat.
But I'm learning a lot. And I'm sure viewers that you're learning a lot as well from all the delicious recipes. They're so creative and innovative.
I
And again,
know.
there's stuff that we have in our backyard.
Right in our backyard.
You know, I saw my the pumsite, for example. We normally would cut it up and make chow, or just, you know, red, you know, put it in some coloring and stuff like that. But this is really innovative.
Exactly.
Where do you get the idea from in terms of creating these dishes?
I would say God was the inspiration.
Okay.
He gave me my brain, and
Just
you know,
work
it allowed
it.
me to. I just use it. That's not much thought to
We're
it.
benefiting.
I love to look around and see the things that we have right at our fingertips. We don't need to buy everything. God has given us all the natural things that are good for us to use. So why not use them? And they do the body good.
Of course.
They do the body good. So I didn't add my 2 tablespoons of flour. I mentioned it, but forgot, in all the chit-chatting, forgot to add it in. So if you look here, you'll see that we're gonna get a bit of a boil going. It's taking a little while, but it's getting there. Smell the pumsite.
Of course. And then, of course, you have all the nutmeg and the cinnamon and stuff in there. It really, really Christmas when you start to smell those types of spices.
Exactly.
Because those are things I know my mommy, when she would bake, those are things she would make sure to put in her cake.
So Eloise, our pumsite mix is thickening up here.
Yeah, that looks very good. I'm hoping that the viewers at home can
tastes
see what is going on. But I realize you have not been doing any tasting. It's because you're accustomed to the portions and stuff that you don't need to be tasting to see if it's in the consistency that you want.
I was born with that natural.
Oh, okay. So viewers, you may want to be tasting as you go along until you get the knack.
Until you get, the professional, you know. Don't do like me, but it's just something ever since I've been cooking. I'm not sure what it is, but I just cannot taste.
That's your gifting.
And it comes out perfect. My meals come out perfect all the time. Thank you, God.
Yes.
Right, so we don't want to overcook it for too much. This should be done here because it's going to continue cooking in the oven. So
what are you looking for in terms of our viewers at home to know when it's ready to take it off? What are you looking for in the
Well, you have to look at the texture. The pots that you use will also tell you when it's time to take the thing off. If you find that it's sticking to the bottom of the pan and the mixture is thickening, that would be an indicator that, okay, it's time to take this off.
And the aroma.
You smell that? Smells
it's a pity.
Pumsite. Wow.
Yes.
And you would never, before today, I've never really thought about using pumsite in a pie. But for some reason, when I looked at all wasting on the roadside, it just clicked, okay, if we're using the juice. I mean, I love chow, but I also love desserts. So I figured I'll use the flesh of the pumsite just to make a nice, tasty pie. Right, so that's all nice and thick.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, lovely. Nice golden color because of the honey. It's not very dark. And viewers at home, are you seeing this? Okay, it's lovely.
Love it.
And healthy. Pumsite as well is very high in vitamin C because it is a fruit and it also has a very high fiber content. So what we're trying to do here is to get the remaining dough. Right, we're trying to get the dough as flat as possible because we're going to be cutting some strips to decorate the top of our pie after the filling goes in. So don't be afraid to work your muscles, you know, just get in there. Once the dough has relaxed, had enough time to rest, it makes it very easy to roll out. So the thinner the better. Right.
And if you're not concerned about having smooth edges,
no, because all of that will be cut away.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So this should be fine. Nice and thin. Right. So we're gonna cut these into 1 inch thick pieces, or widths, I should say. Right. Just gonna keep a check on our time. Because we need to put our honey glaze on our sweet potatoes. I hope you have been paying attention,
Of course.
Right, so we have our strips here ready and waiting. Right, so our pomme sauté is cooling out. All right, so it's about time for me to check my sweet potatoes. Okay. Sweet potatoes.
And we're smelling the pork.
Now, if you notice, the sweet potatoes don't have very long to go again.
Wow.
Nice golden smell.
Wow. That is beautiful color.
Nice, lovely golden color. Can you imagine how this will look on your plate?
Yeah.
Of course, we have our honey. About a quarter cup or half cup of honey. Just enough to brush over our sweet potatoes. All right. Get all that honey out.
And again, you said the serving is for 4.
For 4.
4, yes. And it's about what, 2 pounds of potatoes?
2 pounds of potatoes.
I need to try this recipe for sure. I love the color.
Now I'm not gonna add any water because we don't want it too soggy and sappy when it's done. Just a sprinkle of paprika again, just not a bit because you remember you put some in earlier. Right. So, right, I'm now gonna look for one of my pastry brushes. I'm going to use the big one here. And all of these, as I said before, you can get anywhere on the island. So this is our honey, very simple for our honey glaze. Because we put a lot of ingredients in before, you don't need to add a whole lot apart from the honey now. You did your olive oil, you did your paprika, you did your salt, your black pepper. So it's just a matter of brushing your honey now over your hot potatoes. And don't worry, because you need to have them have the honey on both sides. All right, so we've used up all our honey. All right,